Hello, this is Professor James Strickler, and this is a course in American government. This lesson is from Unit 1, about theories of government. It is Lesson 5, about the social contract. In this lesson, you'll learn about what is the social contract, about who are the parties to the social contract, about popular sovereignty, about the right to revolution, and about the concept of tacit consent. In our previous lesson, we learned about John Locke's idea that governments can only legitimately be created through the consent of each person who becomes subject to that government's power. This notion then leads us to a powerful philosophical idea called the social contract. As we learned in the previous lesson, to move out of the state of nature and into society, we must be willing to give up our freedom. But John Locke explained that we don't have to give up all our freedom. We need to give up the amount necessary to accomplish the ends for which we are creating the society. Those ends that we seek are the preservation of our lives, our liberty, and our property. In the state of nature, we don't like that other people can take our stuff. We don't like that others can imprison or enslave us. We don't like that others can kill us. So we make a deal when we enter society. We promise to no longer steal from others, or imprison or enslave them, or kill them. Instead, we turn those powers over to the government. They will decide if someone needs to have their property taken away, or their liberty taken away, or their lives taken away. And they will use the threat of doing those things to convince others to not do those things either. The result is that we give up our freedom to do certain things so that the government can stop others from doing those things to us. This deal that we enter into when entering society, to give up some of our freedom in exchange for some safety and security, is the social contract. If we are going to call it a contract, that implies that different parties agreed to it. But who are those parties? Is it an agreement between us and the government? No. The social contract is not an agreement between us and the government. Remember what Locke taught about how society is created. It is formed by the free choice of individual members to give up certain powers to create a community. It is an arrangement among individuals that creates the government. If it is this agreement that creates government, it cannot be an agreement with the government. You cannot enter an agreement with a thing that does not yet exist. Instead, the social contract is an agreement among the individual participants. It is a contract between the people and the people. Each of us agrees to no longer steal from or kill each other. We then turn those powers over to the government to use to enforce the rules we created. The government then is a tool we have created to serve us, not a power that rules over us. So, under social contract theory, who is the sovereign? Remember that the sovereign is the ultimate authority in society. No one bosses the sovereign around. But it is the people who created the government through the social contract, who assigned the government its role. It is the people who are bossing around the government. Thomas Jefferson, a man who had carefully studied John Locke, expressed this truth in the words of the Declaration of Independence. Governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. Think about the profound implications of these ideas. It is the common members of society who create and control the government. Then those folks are the sovereign. This concept is called popular sovereignty. The word popular in that name refers to the population. It means the people. We, the people, are the real sovereign, not some king. But what if we grow dissatisfied with the job being done by the government we have created? What if it isn't keeping us safe like it was entrusted to do? John Locke says that we, as the real sovereign, may then take back the power from the government and give it to someone else who we think will do better with it. This goes beyond just choosing new office holders in an election. We have the power to tear down the structure of government itself if we think it is failing in the duty we have given to it. This is essentially, in the extreme, a right to revolution. It is the right of the people to dispose of bad government. It is the right that the founding fathers exercised when they engaged in the American Revolution. Now, this explanation of the legitimate source of powers for the government makes perfectly good sense if you are among the people who gathered together to create a new government and to give it power, like the founding generation of the United States of America did. But what about the generations that came thereafter? What about those who never agreed to the social contract? Are they obligated to obey it too? Or are they really still just living in the state of nature? This is a difficult question, for which John Locke supplied a clever answer. Locke argued that when you accept the benefits of living in a society, you are implicitly consenting to the social contract that sets that society's rules. We call this tacit consent. What this means for most people in America is that they choose to become part of the social contract without realizing they have made that choice. When they become adults, if they did not want to abide by society's rules, they should have left and went back to the state of nature or to some other community under some other social contract. The fact that they stayed says that they have accepted the rules and accepted the authority of the government to enforce those rules. That completes this lesson. Now let's review what we have learned in it. What is the social contract? Is it freedom given up in exchange for security? Is it free trade among different groups? Is it working in exchange for pay? Or is it required military service? The social contract is the agreement we make to surrender certain freedoms in exchange for certain securities. Who is the social contract between? Is it a contract between two governments? Is it between the people and their government? Is it between the people and themselves? Or is it between the people and their God? The social contract is an agreement between the people and themselves. What is popular sovereignty? Is it the necessity for a king to stay popular? Is it the idea that the people are sovereign? Is it the people choosing a new king? Or is it the idea that elected officials are sovereign? Popular sovereignty refers to the idea of the people being sovereign. What is the strongest cure that the people can legitimately use for a bad government? May they engage in revolution? Or must they only try to reform the government? Is it petitioning the government? Or is there nothing that can be done? The people can legitimately revolt against any government that is failing to uphold the duties that they assign to it. What is tacit consent? Is it explicitly agreeing to a thing? Is it failing to agree to a thing? Is it a conditional agreement? Or is it agreeing by using a thing? Tacit consent is given by using a thing. Using the benefits of society shows that we agree to the society's rules. That completes this lesson. The next lesson will also be from Unit 1. It'll be Lesson 6 about the rule of one.